Shalom. Unfortunately, the State of Israel is once again heading towards an election. And before I say something about the leadership, I want to say something about the Jewish people. In a famous passage in our Parashat Pinchas, we have the mantle being passed from Moshe to Yoshua. And one of the verses says, V'tzivita oto le'nehem, and you shall command Yoshua in the eyes of the people. And Rashi says, V'tzivita oto a Yisrael, da shetarchanimhem sarvanimhem. You should know that the Jewish people are troublesome and always say no. Well, it's nice to know that there's nothing new under the sun, which reminds me of a famous story told about Ben-Gurion meeting JFK in the early 1960s, and President Kennedy says to him, "It's really hard to be the President of the United States. I'm the President of 190 million citizens." And Ben-Gurion says, "No, it's much harder to be the Prime Minister of Israel. I'm the Prime Minister of 2.3 million Prime Ministers." So therefore, it is hard to be the leader of the Jewish people in the State of Israel. What are the tchunot, what are the attributes of a leader that we look for? And interestingly enough, in two verses in our parasha, we have four different answers to that question. The verses say, "Let the Lord God of the spirits of all flesh appoint a man over the community, who shall go out before them and kanim before them, and who shall take them out and bring them in, so that the Lord's community may not be like sheep that have no shepherd." So says Moses to God. Why does it say spirits, ruchot? Rashi answers using a midrash from Midrash Tanchuma, Minei alehem manhig sheyesh sovel kol echad ve'echad lefi da'ato. The reason it says spirits in the plural is that God should appoint a person who understands the spirits of the Jewish people. Not the spirit in the singular, but the spirits in the plural. In other words, a person who can understand each and every individual of the Jewish people. The second attribute is it says ish al ha'edah, a man over the community. And this reminds us of a famous Mishnah in Pirkei Avot, chapter 2, Uvimkom she'en anashim hishtadel liot ish. In a place where there are no men, strive to be a man. In other words, a leader in a place where there is no leadership, or where people are not saying the right thing, has to come forth and say and do the right thing. He has to be the ish, the person who does that. The third attribute is in the next passage in the verse, which says, Asher yetzeh lifnehem v'asher yavo lifnehem. And Rashi says, following the Sifrei, that it's talking about going out and coming in battle, as we are told about King David in the first book of Samuel, chapter 18, Ki hu yotzeh uva lifnehem, because he goes out and comes in before them. However, Rabbi Ovadia Sforno, living 500 years ago in Italy, says, Asher yetzeh lifnehem b'inyan ha'milchama, v'asher yotzihem b'inyanei hanagat hamdina. The first part of the verse says he will go out before them in matters of war, v'asher yotzihem, and he will bring them out in matters of hanagat hamdina, leading the people. In other words, the leader has to, on the one hand, lead the people in war if necessary, but on the other hand, lead them in peace, which is, of course, much more important. And finally, the fourth attribute, that the Jewish people should not be katzon asher en lahem ro'eh, like sheep which have no shepherd. And this, of course, reminds us of the famous passage about Moshe Rabbeinu in Exodus chapter 3, U'Moshe haya ro'eh tzon yitro chotno kohen midyan, and Moses was shepherding the sheep of his father-in-law Yitro, vayanaheg et atzon achar hamidbar, and he took them beyond the wilderness. And the famous Midrash says that because Moshe knew how to take care of sheep, therefore he would also know how to take care of the Jewish people. So we see here in this short passage about leadership that there are four attributes which we need to look for in our leaders. Number one, that he should understand the spirit of every individual. Number two, b'makom she'en anashim hishtadel liot ish, in a place where there are no other men, strive to be a man. Number three, to take them out in war and in peace. Number four, to look after every individual as a shepherd looks after his flock. May we have the zchut, may we have the merit to merit such leaders in the State of Israel. Shavua Tov from Schechter.